Hey friends, thanks for joining me, Jim Baroud, to hear a few insights from leaders who represent our innovation ecosystem. Today's chat is with Sam Caucci, the founder and CEO of One Huddle, and Raja Skogland, VC and the founder and chair of the Visionary Company.
I'm a founder, always been a founder. I'm also an investor, so I have invested in 80 plus companies since 2016, directly, indirectly, via syndicates, via VC funds, via accelerators. So my portfolio has been quite diverse, but always in startups. And I'm a founder. So I've been actually a founder building solutions for founders. This is what I do. This is what I've been doing. And I've launched in Norway in 2016 the largest job platform for startups to recruit talent. I have also launched an online accelerator that was pre-COVID, 2017, 2018, sold it. And today I basically coach founders on how to build an audience, to create a loyal, engage audience that they can turn into happy customers, but also investors. This is my main focus, but we also have different other services such as training board members. I also train angel investors. So I'm all about putting the ecosystem together and supporting the growth of investors, founders, and advisors.
Great, thanks. All right, Sam?
Sure. Yeah, Sam Caucci, founder and CEO of One Huddle. One Huddle is a Newark, New Jersey-based game platform for workforce training. So, as we look at the workforce, companies really struggle to onboard, upskill, and develop workers. The future of work is changing rapidly. We looked at the way organizations prepare their people. I spent my career prior to One Huddle in the sports industry, where I worked with organizations to do the thing we're doing today, onboard and upskill sales, marketing, and operations team members. It was always a challenge. I felt like it was getting harder and harder to do. So I took that experience in sports and created One Huddle, which, again, as an enterprise SaaS platform, we work with over 120 brands, from Nike to Lowe's Hotels to UEFA in Europe, that use our platform to create a more fired up workforce that comes to work every day, knows the right thing, does it the right way, does it the right time, does it every time. That's One Huddle.
Great. All right, thanks, Sam. So Ryan, let's go back to you. Talk to us about your journey, how you got to where you are now, because it sounds like you've done a lot, and it really it's fascinating. So talk to us about from high school, how did you get to where you are now?
So I'll go back to university. Basically studied management, ended up in banking. I'm from Switzerland, in Geneva. So I grew up in Geneva and I ended up in banking like most people in Switzerland. You have 4 options: chocolate, watches, insurances, or banking. I went for that one. Really, I had amazing opportunities and I was growing, and you can add the titles and the salary. At 21-year-old, I was making really nice salary, close to 100,000 euros or 100,000 US dollars for a young woman. It's amazing. But then really, I was not passionate about what I was doing. Let's be honest, this is the banking sector. You have to follow procedures and directives, and you have to stick to the box. You can't think outside the box. And on the side, I was always trying new ventures. I was really passionate about entrepreneurship and startups. And that was like 2000, so long time ago, and there was nothing, especially in Geneva, and still today in Switzerland. It's not like the most vibrant ecosystem for startups. So I tried over and over again while working, nothing really picked up, but learned a lot. And when I moved to Norway, I met a Norwegian man, got married, kids, moved to Norway. I decided to start a new chapter. I was not labeled a banker anymore, and I could be whoever I wanted to be. So I took 1 year off, 18 months off, living off my savings from back from Switzerland. And I agreed with my husband. I said, you know what? I need to figure out what I want to do, and I just want to be my own boss. I don't know what I'm gonna be building. I don't really have an idea. I tried stuff before, not sure where to go, what to do. and who to talk to. So I didn't have any network, didn't speak the language. Still today, not really speaking Norwegian after almost 10 years. I'm ashamed a bit, not so much. But so didn't have a network, didn't speak Norwegian, and I didn't have really a background in building companies. So it was an aha moment under the shower. I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get off the ground? It's like, you know what? You're going to organize networking events. You love events. At that time, I just organized my wedding. So I loved organizing my wedding. And I was like, you know what? You love organizing events and getting people together. So let's do that. Organize a networking event. Say that it's monthly networking event. It's going to take you 5 minutes to to set it up. And that's going to be for founders to build a network. Let's see if 5 people show up. I will be happy. 5 people. I wanted to connect with founders and get inspired. So created a Facebook page, called it Drink Entrepreneurs Oslo, straightforward, Drinks Entrepreneurs Oslo. Shared it on groups for expats, for founders, for new people in Oslo, whatever. And was waiting there at my venue. I went to a bar and just said, can we get this corner? And over 70 people showed up. So I was like, okay. And they were asking, when's the next event? What are you doing? Who are you? And I said, well, the next event is apparently next month. First Thursday of the month. It's on the Facebook page. And there you go. This is how I started. I built my network. After 9 months, we had 300 founders. That was in 2015. My network exploded. And I really enjoyed being, which I didn't know was called like that at that time, community builder. But I really enjoyed bringing people together. And I was going from one person to another, very curious about what they do, and just asking them this question that I became well known for. How can I help you? What can I do for you? So I became this networker, connector, and advisor to many companies. This is how I got in touch with the first company I invested in. This is how I started to advise and figure out really what I love doing. And because that was 2015, I was leveraging Facebook at that time. I was growing easily. My Facebook page had a lot, my DMs where my inbox was exploding. And I started also to get requests on how to grow online already in 2015. So this was the starting point. That community led me to launching in Norway in collaboration with Danske Bank and other accelerators at the Nordic level, launching the hub.io, which is a job platform. So basically what I was doing at my events, helping people network and connect and hire each other, we did it online. Today, it's the #1 job platform acquired by the company where I'm sitting. And so after that, I've been a community builder, helping create solutions and products for founders. And yeah, that was the starting point.
Great. What an interesting story. Okay, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, journey for me, I'm originally from South Florida. I came out of high school and originally signed to play football at the University of Alabama. So playing as an American coming out and signing a Division I scholarship to play football is a pretty big deal, especially at a school like the University of Alabama. Unfortunately, after getting on campus, we had a family situation at home happen. I have a single mom who lost her job, and I had to kind of come back and get right to work. So after really just a few weeks on campus, I came home. I applied everywhere I could to kind of get jump started. I enrolled in college to do the whole go to school full-time, work full-time thing. And, it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, because over the next bunch of years, I learned a lot about not just the career I was getting into, but I was able to take the things I was learning in the classroom and apply it right away in the workforce. And, again, I worked in the sports industry. I ran high-level performance facilities, prepared athletes in the off season. So think NFL, Combine, Major League Soccer, professional baseball. I did that for a number of years before moving to the Northeast to work corporately with Lifetime Fitness, which is at the time was 100 location fitness concept, publicly held. Kind of went from a small business to a large publicly held corporation, a lot of HR people. So went from like no HR people to a lot of HR people. And, it was really in that experience. I ran a sales team for club operations in the Northeast. We had 400 team members from the spa to the cafe to personal training to membership sales. And again, it was really there that I started to understand that the importance of onboarding and continuous employee development, especially in environments where you're customer facing, revenue impacting, service quality matters. But what was shocking to me was, everywhere I went, we kept doing the same old stuff. We locked people in a room for 3 days to go through an 8-hour onboarding and kind of death by PowerPoint. We, printed all the manuals that, people largely read once and then discarded. We forced people to watch learning videos that everybody kind of clicks through and nobody actually remembers or recalls anything from. So it was really that journey for me that, led me to the creation of One Huddle, where, the early days of One Huddle was really just about how do we get people up to speed, connected, engaged, not just faster, but in a way that is enjoyable as a worker, So, we made the product mobile first when everybody was telling us, don't do mobile. You're going to have to deal with on the clock, off the clock, wage and hour issues. Do we pay workers? But all the decisions we made in the early days of One Huddle was, how do we engage the worker in a manner that they want to engage in? We built this product as a game platform. And that experience led me to kind of this last piece I'll mention, which was when we moved to Newark, New Jersey as a technology company, as Raya has seen so many of her investments, grow. Now, we started in a shared space, and then we came to a city like Newark. And as our product got into the market, we started to look around and realize that there's a hell of a lot of inequities in access to education and training that exists in our workforce today. I mean, just in America, 100 million out of 165 million workers don't have a college degree. Those workers do not get the same learning opportunities that everybody else gets. We only learn that by moving our company into a city like Newark and engaging in the community. And that leads us to where we are today, which is kind of full circle to the experience that I had with my mother, very early on. My mom was a legal secretary for 62 years, only because she grew up at a time where the boy goes to college, not the girl. And, it's become a driver for me personally and One Huddle to nobody likes an unfair game. And, our big part of our mission is to create an environment where everybody can participate and the best talent will rise. And we think that's good for business. We think that's good for our community. And that's what drives us every day here at One Huddle.
That's great. Oh my God, what a story. Just the lifetime experience, right? Is just, I was just there the other day. So I could ask us several questions about that. But let's talk about, while we're in Newark. I mean, you were brought in by, was it Newark Venture Partners? And now talk to us just a bit about how that, because that's sort of a stakeholder in the city that is uplifting the ecosystem.
Yeah, it was like anything that is startup journey related. There's a lot of luck that goes into this thing. And, you can make the comment that you make your own luck. And I think the only way you do that is by saying yes to as many things as you can when it comes to networking and fundraising. And, if somebody wants to have a conversation with me and it's an hour away, it's a conversation I wouldn't have. I'm going to get in the car. I'm going to get on the subway. I'm going to get on the bus and I'm going to go. And in the early days, that's what I did. And I remember being in a pitch meeting and a coffee shop in New York. And, you both have been on the other side of this table from a founder, and the conversation I thought was going really well. And we get to the end and this investor said, not for me, but I know this new, like that whole thing, not for me, but I know. And he's like, I know this new venture firm in Newark called Newark Venture Partners. What do you think about that? And I go, yeah, like, let's keep the chain going. And I got introduced to Newark Venture Partners. They had just started up their first cohort of their accelerator. Newark Venture Partners is a venture fund that some of their LPs include Don Katz, Audible, Prudential, Panasonic, Mars Wrigley. And the mission was to bring technology to back to the urban core in a city like Newark. And we were one of kind of 7 or 8 companies in their first accelerator. And I remember coming into Newark, and part of the deal was, you got to kind of plant your feet here. And as a tech company, I was like, well, shouldn't I be in New York? Shouldn't I have a WeWork office in the city, and that's where we grow? But probably, again, one of the best decisions I ever made was to say, yeah, I'm coming to Newark. It helped that it was free office space, by the way, at that time. And I said, hey, here's a pod for you to set up and grow from. And we came to Newark, and I think, again, one of the best decisions we ever made, because being in an environment like this as a workforce product is a much better environment to be in than, maybe some other options that, maybe are more, more appealing or more standard for a founder.
Got it. And on that same topic, Riot, talk to us about, in your experience, about stakeholders like big companies or big investors sort of helping startups, be elevated, relocate or just prosper in the city in Europe.
There are different kinds of investors. I think it's hard to put everyone in the same box. But in general, I see that there is a trend here in Europe, and most likely at a global level, where the landscape is also very competitive for investors. There are so many VCs, so many investors. How can they stand out, right? So surprisingly, actually, in one of my first cohorts on how to grow on LinkedIn, I had a VC with me, because she was there as a partner at a VC, and I had the other founders. And I asked her, and I said, so why are you, like, I know why she's here, but I asked her to hear it from her. And she said, it's very competitive. How can we make sure we get the best deal flow? If we are not out there, if we're playing by the same rules, which is going to events and humble bragging on LinkedIn, we're so humble, and we're so happy and honored that we have been supported by our LPs, our investors, and we have now a fund. Like, you need to think outside the box. You need to find other ways to be under the spotlight and be remembered by founders. So there is that. There is being visible and leveraging LinkedIn, but also creating value for founders. Creating value, it's not just investing. Now founders want more than just investors. They want smart capital. Everyone always wanted that, but now it's even more important because there are so many investors out there. It's a competitive landscape. So they want smart capital, and they want investors who can be hands-on, which is not a traditional job for an investor, especially if they have not built a business themselves, right? So now you see investors and VC funds, trying to recruit experienced founders with exits to also support their portfolio companies, or people like me who can coach their founders because they don't have either the competence to coach them, to support them. They're busy analyzing new deals and so on, but at the same time, it's very competitive. So they need, I see that it's an interesting space where today it's not only crowded for small businesses out there online. They have to stand out. They have to create value for their clients. It's the same for investors. They have to start creating a lot of value for their clients, who are the startups. It's not the LPs, it's the startups.
Right.
So this is the trend I see.
No, that's a really good point. And Sam, let's go back to you on that point. Have they opened doors for you? Because of those corporate connections, have they been able to open doors and do business development for you over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, the quick answer is, some do, most don't. And I have, as a founder, I think from early on, we went through one of the first programs we went through was 500 startups. And I was very lucky to be around a lot of founders that gave me a lot of really good insights into how to, what expectations you should have around your board and the investors coming onto your cap table. And, the theme that I heard early on was, have realistic expectations. And what I learned over time has been, there's going to be a bucket of folks that they're not going to make introductions. They're not going to be very active. You shouldn't as a founder disengage that group. If anything, you should, continue to, I send my monthly investor updates, to all. I may not hear from one for 12 to 14 months, but I'm going to constantly keep them alert and create opportunities, because there have been times where someone in that group has bubbled up and said, I have an idea. And it's just staying top of mind with that audience. And then there is the smaller minority of investors, or the LPs in the funds that have invested in us, who have been very active. And I think that it's important as a founder to have an ask. It's not just like in sales, or just like in recruiting, or just like in fundraising. Just because now they have crossed the finish line and become an investor doesn't mean they're going to wake up every day and be thinking about your business. It's your responsibility now to come up with ideas and have direct asks, and manufacture. This is maybe a little bit of like the best part of like a LinkedIn or just networking in general, is sometimes you got to manufacture urgency or manufacture opportunities in order to create momentum. And I think that once you have, again, I think that how do you leverage your investor network? It comes down to, like I said, having really direct asks of folks.
I totally agree with you. I had the case lately with a company I invested in. So each time they fundraise, they engage their investors to ask for feedback on their pitch deck. So not only we get regular investor newsletters, we then ask at the end, we are hiring, do you know anybody? We are looking for a client within this industry. Can you make an introduction? They're very specific, but also they involve us in the fundraising process. So I jump in, they give us access to the pitch deck, and I say, okay, this add this change it, this, remove it. This doesn't make sense. And also what I really found extraordinary, because they are so close to their investors that last time they needed a loan, I think of 300,000 euros, $300,000. They got it within 2 days. They sent an email to their investors saying, listen, we're going to get the cash from the clients in 2 months, but we really need the cash today for this. Do you have that? We will give you 15% return on this as soon as we get the cash. And, by the time I was thinking about it and discussing it with my husband, they sent an email saying, thank you very much. We're covered. Thank you for everybody who got back to us. We're good. So because they're really taking care of their investors. And like you said, founders need to have realistic expectations. So often they're going to get, and this is because they don't know, they haven't been a founder before. They're going to get an investor who's going to ask for a board position. And then as a board member, they will not be doing the job that the founder is expecting or hoping for, the co-creation process. They will feel like they have new bosses. They're now reporting, oh, this is how we've been doing. And there will be no input on the other side from the investor. But they have to be realistic. What is the profile of this person they have put on their board? Can they actually give an input? Have realistic expectations. Maybe they can open a network. Then you're very clear that this person can just do door opening, and have on your board other people who have other hats, like you said.
That's a great point. And just to give people sort of an overview of the European market, Sam mentioned 500 startups. We have, the premier ones, Techstars, YC, and others. And then a lot of other, middle tier ones throughout the country. Who are which ones are really successful in Europe? And how is the market? We've been depressed for a while, I think, globally, but can you confirm that how it is in Europe? Is it different?
Cash is dry. So I can't speak on behalf of the whole European market. It's very different from a country to another. We're very different, maybe not as just like the US, where it's a big country. But I can speak about the Nordics. So in the Nordics, we have, especially in Norway, we have some very good investors who are investors, but also investing at an accelerator level, accelerator programs investors. We have one that is a great one, Solid Startup Lab. They're focused on B2B SaaS. So very good company. And they are very supportive. They have a mentor network. They're super founder friendly. They have founders who have been part of the founding team of Startup Lab and so on. And now, to be honest, there's a little bit of everything. It's not, I can recommend some VCs in Stockholm, for example, Node VC, that is great, smart people who have built companies before. We had 500 startups here. The one who brought it here, Sean Percival, he's here in Norway. Unfortunately, 500 startups did not pick up here. Maybe market is too small. So I would say talking in general about the fundraising space in Europe, what I see is that the investors that have been very active are now, since 2015, there has been a big hype around unicorns and investing in companies, and this is the next big thing, and just we've been trapped there, to be honest, myself. And that's why I ended up with 80 investments, Today, the mindset is shifting. I'm sitting on the board of the Business Angel Network Association in Norway. We're shifting the mindset. We want companies who are focused on profitability, chasing clients rather than investors, and then it will make them much more attractive to us investors. So it's all about minimizing our risk. So maybe in Europe, we are even more risk averse than in the US. We don't believe in high valuations anymore. We don't want that. We don't believe in the unicorns, in the dreams. That time is over. We want founders who respect investors' money, which I also see that many founders don't respect their investors and their money. So we often talk about like, oh, the investors are the bad guys, the bad people, right? But to be honest, like the bad people are everywhere. You also have a lot of them in the founder space. And I have invested in some cases where we have to go, to court, and we had to go to court and so on because there has been breach of contracts. So, I would say that everybody today is trying to minimize their risk, investors, and we want to see, this is my investor hat, we want to see companies that are sustainable, building things step by step, and not just going after a hype and fundraising. The growth at all cost here, we're not hearing this anymore. There's not enough cash anymore for that.
Got it. Okay. Thanks for that overview. Sam, let's talk about LinkedIn. As an entrepreneur, I've watched your LinkedIn, activity grow, and I want to know how that happened, how proactive you were, and how that's helped your business.
Sure. Yeah. I think that, as a founder in the early day, the earlier days, you just don't have as much resources. And I think that, you're sitting around the table thinking about how do you scale? How do you grow using, kind of winning with what you have? And I think that mindset, we're an enterprise B2B product. So we obviously know that LinkedIn is a good environment for our brand to hang out in. And one of the things we did first was ask ourselves, what we looked at what all of our competitors are doing in the market. We compete with enterprise learning, kind of the boring stuff, personal feeling. So, a lot of like the e-learning platforms, and, when you do an audit of what their marketing strategy is, being the larger brands in the market, it's free ebooks, free white papers, webinars and case studies, and, a lot of thought leadership. And I just made the decision early on and said, we can't win here by copying that model. Like they're optimizing and enriching everything with LinkedIn ad spend, which is obviously very expensive. So if they have a white paper and we have a white paper, we're not going to stand out. So the decision we made early on was, it's kind of, if they're zigging, how do we zag? And we felt like the market for our product wasn't necessarily aware of a problem. Like awareness was low. So we, as a marketing team, had to increase awareness of the problem. So LinkedIn, we thought, was a great avenue for us to do that. And then we said, how do we do it? Is it static text posts? Is it sharing of articles? And this is the direction we went. We hired a video person to come on the team full time. And we said, the one thing we're going to do that everybody else won't do, because all the other brands they're sharp. They're buttoned up. They're not going to do anything crazy. So all we're going to do is turn the camera on. And to this day, that's been our marketing strategy. Just turn on the camera. And in turning on the camera, we started to learn. The first few videos we did, were nowhere near as good as the next few. But our initial goal was we need to increase awareness of the problem in the market. And then we need to build a relationship and look approachable as a brand to potential customers. And we know that the customers that buy a game platform for employee training are more first mover, they're more early adopter. They're not the laggards in the market that are, this is a risky product, it's different. The people that liked our product and were going to like what we were offering wanted to be different. So, I think that came back to our strategy was let's turn the camera on. Let's show the team was not afraid. Let's get everybody on our team on camera and let's use that as an opportunity to talk about the problem. And again, we identified, 3 to 5, different challenges in the market. And we just, were relentless about attacking those 3 to 5 talking points. And in turning on the camera, it's really hard to make something look off the cuff. But again, we looked at everything else in the market. Everything was so buttoned up. It was the infographic videos. We weren't going to come out with an infographic video. Everybody else had an infographic video. So I think that's what we looked at on LinkedIn. How do we stand out by just being ourselves and letting people get to meet the brand in the early days? And that was very successful for us in acquiring new customers and building stronger relationships with existing customers that were on our platform.
Right. And Sam, did you get help on growing your network, or did you just do it all organically by yourself? Because you have 16,000 plus or 17,000, whatever it is. Talk to us about that, just for other founders or entrepreneurs that, how can they do it?
Yeah, I think we made the decision that everybody in the company has a role to play in the show. And as the founder, I play a very specific role. And the role is bigger than just me, as Sam. I'm just this role right now. And I was very clear with our whole team in the early days on if you're a director of marketing, you're playing that role. When someone sees you on LinkedIn, they see One Huddle director of marketing, there's going to be an impression. If your title is sales development rep, there's a point of view on LinkedIn around what is this person trying to sell or click or comment on. So what we did was we said, everybody has a role to play. And in the early days, we funneled all of the activity through me as the founder. And everybody was very, I would post something first and everybody would share. And as time went on, we started to know that different messages are better off coming from different roles inside of One Huddle. So for example, maybe it's our head of customer success who's shouting out a top brand. They share it first, and we on Slack, it's a plan. There's a share. Sam is going to reshare this and boost a comment with my audience. So again, early days was let's try to build audience around the founder. I'm surprised at how many brands try to funnel all of their activity to their company LinkedIn page.
Yes.
Nobody wants to engage with a company
Terrible.
LinkedIn.
Yes.
If something comes from a company LinkedIn page, it's only because we're going to personally boost it or share it or comment on it. But, we said we're people, we're human. Let's go out and build relationships on LinkedIn. And, we started with me. And again, like I said, we then expanded out from there.
Okay. That's really informative. Thanks for that, Sam. And Riot, talk to us about how you've leveraged LinkedIn and how now you help other founders and entrepreneurs on LinkedIn.
So, I've been, as I mentioned, I started on Facebook. Then I moved to Instagram. And I've been maybe since 2019 till 2018 till 2020, very focused on Instagram. Videos, content every day, showing my life, showing everything, advice and so on and so on. My expertise is building businesses, go-to-market, fundraising, scale. So it was all about that. And then to be honest, I was growing, but very slowly. If you want to do organic content, and I'm a bootstrapper and I'm very into my finances and making sure I'm investing my time and my money in the right place, I was not growing effectively on LinkedIn. And I'm also a lot about high impact activities. So looking at how much time I spend on an activity and what does it give me in return. So I was testing. In the meantime, I was neglecting LinkedIn. I was just like, oh, it's interesting that I have 3,000 followers. I'm not doing anything there because people were just following me from the event space, or I speak at conferences and so on. And that was growing just slowly, LinkedIn, but I was not active. So already for me, there were some signals. Some people were more interested in me on LinkedIn than on Instagram. Also, we can talk about the algorithm later, but there are some setups on LinkedIn that really help you grow faster than on other platforms. So the big aha moment was when I did a pivot with the current company. I was building a SaaS, and I realized I'm getting burned out. I hate it. I hate it. I'm surrounded. I did all the mistakes that founders do. Even if I'm an advisor, I talk to the wrong investors. I have the wrong advisors. Not going well. I stopped this. So I stopped it and decided to go back to the core. What do I really want to do, and what do I like and gives me energy, and that I can make money with very quickly? Well, I can go back to advisory, right? So I created 2 posts, one on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, where I said, I'm currently teaching at the university. I was teaching an entrepreneurship program on how to raise money. It's work. It's really amazing. Who wants to have access to it? I'm going to set up a group for founders and coach you. 2 months to know how to fundraise. Posted it on Instagram, Facebook. This was my ABC testing, LinkedIn. And I made 20,000 euros with one social media post. I was like, already, this was, 2020. And I was like, this is interesting how quickly it happens. And I had 4,000, 5,000 followers on LinkedIn, completely inactive community for me. I was not there. That was my first post for a long time. And Instagram got me some people, but really it was LinkedIn where I got my DMs full of people looking for some help from me. And I decided, okay, something is going on here. That was my little moment. Something is going on here with LinkedIn. That was 2020. Let's continue testing. Continued testing, and I realized very quickly I have to go full in on LinkedIn. Once, when you post on LinkedIn, somebody comments, their network sees that. You don't have that anymore. I think it used to be the case on Instagram before. It's not the case anymore. We can't see what other people have liked from our network. So what was that? It was 18 months ago. I decided to stop Instagram. So I removed all my pictures from Instagram, and I went full in as a big bet on LinkedIn and see where can this go. Let's see. I've been focused on testing in the beginning, what kind of content, trying to create value only, being value-based, creating value-based content. And this is where, I went in 1 year, 20,000 plus followers. Today, I'm close to 40,000 followers. My business, our products, our programs, my companies, it's all inbound. We are bootstrapping still, no investors, even though I have a strong network of investors, not taking any investors. And LinkedIn is a great channel. It's my CRM, basically. LinkedIn is my CRM, my marketing channel, distribution channel, CRM channel. This has been the journey.
That's great. That's amazing. Sam, do you have any comments on that? And, from what she said?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing I think about is, as Raya mentioned, kind of the learning, you're constantly learning and evolving and figuring out where you spend your time. For some founders, you have to, for us as a platform, for example, in the early days, it was all about driving sales and being a B2B platform. We learned quickly that LinkedIn was the place for us to hang out. As our platform grew and our user community grew, we started to realize that, like for us, we heavily focus on hourly frontline workers. Guess who's not on LinkedIn? Hourly frontline workers. So as I think that it's also important to note in there as you evolve, being aware of all of your audiences. We know that when we message on LinkedIn, we're not just targeting buyers, but managers on our platform and investors and VIPs of the company, right? But we started to employ about 2.5, 3 years ago, a strategy on TikTok and Instagram for player engagement at the end user level, because we know that a lot of our end users are hanging out there, and making sure that we took the same strategy over, the same personal this is One Huddle. We're relatable. We're to the point. We're we're here for you. But the stuff we do on Instagram or TikTok is more around rating and ranking. Here's the top bartender of the week. Here's the top 10 players of the month. Here's a tip for you on your next interview. So I think it's important that when you be disciplined, pick a channel like Raya mentioned, but then constantly be aware of, as your user community grows or changes, you want to have at least some foundations in other places in case you need to shift.
Got it. And Ryan, is there any, I know you have a program that you offer for entrepreneurs, but are there any tips that, overall that we can sort of provide and share for entrepreneurs or investors, right? To really leverage LinkedIn?
Like you just mentioned, Sam, basically it's know your audience and know where they hang out, right? So when we write for everybody, when we speak for everybody, we speak for nobody. So we should not be scared to go niche and focus on the client that actually pays us as well. So one is, who's the buyer? Are they on LinkedIn or are they on Instagram? And can they also afford us? Testing. And it's okay to have a post that doesn't get a lot of engagement. That was the opportunity to test and learn and analyze it. And look, what did I say here? Why was it the timing? Honestly, it's rarely about the time of the day. I tested it several times. A post can go viral on a Sunday evening. I got that, okay? So it doesn't have to be always about 9 a.m. or like some influencers and thought leaders suggest. It's about what's in it, what's in there, what's in the content. And also, of course, the hook. The hook, is 80% of the post. If your hook is not, inspiring or intriguing, whatever you have written and it can have a lot of value, it doesn't matter if the hook is not getting them into read more. So, there are different kind of contents I would recommend to test. There are three main pillars, which is the educational content. This is my focus. Educating, like helping people level up or learn. This is the kind of of content that converts to clients more easily, because they know what you can do for them. They know your knowledge. You also have the entertaining content. Sorry, English is not my first language. The entertaining content is to get a bigger audience, to expand your audience. It's not going to give you clients immediately, but potential clients need at least 7 times exposure to your content to consider buying from you, to build trust. So it takes time to build trust. So we help educate, we share knowledge to build trust. This is the content that converts the most. We share inspiring posts to build trust as well and show who we are. So you have the educational, inspiring, and the entertaining. Entertaining is to get more people into your page and profile. Do you agree, Sam? Entertaining, inspiring, educating?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think maybe a perfect post is figuring out a way to do all three of them, and
yeah, you can do a combination.
Time. Yeah, and it's funny. We started to add on to that point. There's the challenge with LinkedIn now is there's just so many people using it incorrectly, and so our it's almost been for us recently, like we're saying a little bit less. We're using opportunities to, even if it's just a thumbs up emoji to somebody, or it's a we see you, or a great job. Like I would add on top of educational, entertaining, inspiring, I would say that it's about, for us, we're a coaching and development platform. So we should be coaching and developing LinkedIn. So we see you doing something great, even if you're not a client, like we show you some love. There's no direct message coming after that asking you to book a call with us. This is like, let's not be so aggressive all the time. Let's be, let's human. Be who we are. Yeah.
Yes. I agree with you. There are a lot of people who don't know how to use LinkedIn, and most of them are going to go straight into sales, pitching, approaching you. While let's just remember that we're humans. It's not B2B, B2C. It's H to H, human to human. You would not do that in the normal life. You would not go to somebody and say, buy from me. You say like, how are you doing? Or you would pick the right person because you think it's the right time for them to talk to you. They're open, they seem open, they have engaged with you. This is the same thing that we need to apply online. When we create content, this can attract the right people to us, and they can take the decision to contact us as well. So you have two ways of doing it. Either they level one, which I do right now, but we're going to move to level two to test. Level one is creating content and getting inbound. And these are the best clients because the sales meetings, sales pitch are not a sales pitch. It's to get to know each other. You reached out to me. You know what I can do for you. You've been reading me. So often I would get a message saying, Raya, I've been following you for a while. Do you have a moment for me? Because I'm interested in working with you. And then I don't have to pitch anymore. I'm jumping on a call to tell them to get to know each other. Level two is actually to follow up on those who showed interest but maybe are not ready. So here it's okay to reach out and say via DM, I've seen your comment. Maybe you want to have a discussion so I can further help you, further support you. I'm happy to jump on a call, or there is this article, or there's this newsletter where I cover. So again, we're not forcing anything on people. We're just there to support, to help them. And at some point, the transaction will happen naturally when they want to move to the next level.
Yeah, it's a great way to conclude this conversation, Raya. Helping others. If you have that sort of impetus, that will usually return good things and business in the future. So we usually do just one thing. So let's do that now. We've covered a lot of ground here, but if there's just one tip that we can share with entrepreneurs to really leverage their personal brand and their business brand on LinkedIn and other social media, what would it be? Let's start with you, Raya.
I would say learn, test. It's okay to fail. It's okay it's important to fail so you can analyze what works, what doesn't work. Nobody really cares about what we write, okay? So we feel like all eyes on us. We're so important, center of the universe. No, we are not, okay? It's also okay to post something and regret and remove it. Sometimes I post something and I'm like, doesn't sit well. No, it doesn't feel right. Okay, I remove it. It's okay. We're human. And point two, I'm an investor. I have invested in many companies. I have founders fundraise. I coach on that and so on. But I'm not a big fan of, fundraising in general. I think it's better to try to build a business that doesn't need investors. Because maybe you may not need investors. Less headache, okay? Less conversations, more freedom. Or once you have also done that, once you have built a business that doesn't need investors, because your investors, you want them to be your clients. Your investors are your clients. These are the best clients you can have, best investors you can have. It's your clients. They buy from you. They don't take equity. And once you have that, then investors like me and others find you very attractive. It's like we have in French a saying like, chase me, something like that. I can translate now. But like when you don't chase somebody, they chase you, right? If you chase investors, you look a bit, it's like in a relationship. You look a bit desperate. You really want them. So they're like, maybe I'm not sure. Come back later, But once you don't need them anymore and you're independent and you know your worth, again, just like in dating, now you are very attractive. Now they come to you. So focus on getting cash, focus on your clients, and investors will come your way.
Got it. Thanks, Raya. Sam?
Okay. Yeah. I would say that, from a marketing LinkedIn, strategy, stand for something and stand for it all the time. And some things you say on LinkedIn, some people aren't going to like it. Nobody's running. I mean, there's only probably a few people running for president at any point in time, and that's it, not you in your brand. Your responsibility as a founder early is to let the world know who you are and what you stand for. And I think there's, the mushy middle, we talk about it all the time. Is this post kind of trying to make everybody happy? Like, that's not what we're here to do. And a little bit of discomfort and uncomfortable will tell the right brands to come into our pipeline. Because just like Raya said, let's not chase you. You're going to come inbound, but we don't want people coming into our process who are the wrong type of customer, especially early in our business. Because I tell companies all the time, it would be better for us not to sign you than to sign you and churn you, because the market's going to ding us a lot harder for the churn than it is going to give us credit for the new ARR. And also, I say that to C-level executives, are you all in or not? Because we're going to be all in with you. And that messaging starts really early on. So I would say stand for something, stand for it all the time. If the message is, you shouldn't say anything to be snark. We talk about not being reckless. Don't be antagonistic. However, like we have certain worldviews, and we're going to be unapologetic about it. And we're going to let the world know where we stand.
Got it. Sounds good. Okay, we usually end these conversations with a poem or a saying. I'm going to start with you, Raya. What would you like to share?
Like I said, cash is king, and not investors' cash.
Got it. Okay, Sam, go ahead.
I like it, Cash. What you tolerate, you encourage. And to the founders and CEOs out there, as you're building a team, realize that you set the tone. And what you tolerate from your people, from your marketing, from your organization, not saying something is a signal of encouragement. And I think the best leaders in every organization, they make sure that their people know like where they stand. So what you tolerate, you encourage as a leader every day.
Great. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much, folks. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please like it, leave a review, and subscribe. See you soon.